it's me. And no, it's not cricket. But it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between two teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship UAE.
Going into the side of Khaled Al-Khabaisi, and another safety car with just 11 minutes on the clock at this stage. It didn't matter for Patrick Pasma. He was denied a win, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment's time from the previous race, but he managed to get the win here. Zhou Guanyu stayed with him at the restart. And here he is taking the checkered flag. Patrick Pasma is definitely the man in form, but he is out of the championship standings. Let's hear from the drivers.
Good start, managed to get the P1 on the main straight. And then we just managed to do good laps after, and there was a few safety cars and things like this, but I think we managed everything quite well, and yeah, another victory, and yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, obviously we've done a job so far this weekend. One more race to go. We came back after missing 32 points coming for the last round. It's been all good so far, and there's one more race to go, and the main job is to finish ahead of him and try to, have a clean first lap and get my position and try to take the championship.
Yes, it was quite a difficult race for me because everyone in the top 5 used their new tires, and I decided to save them for later. So yeah, I think I was happy to be on the podium with the tires from yesterday's race. So hopefully on my new set this afternoon I can try and win the race.
It has been an incredibly dramatic 24 hours for the F3 Asian Championship. Now what has happened is that as we came on air for the penultimate race of the championship, we were just receiving news filtering through of the previous race, which happened late last night, and there were many different decisions that the race stewards were looking at. In the end, they reversed the finishing positions because 4 of the drivers got a 5-second penalty for speeding under the yellow flags. That gave Zhou Guanyu the 25 points for victory, with Patrick Pasma, despite crossing the line first and taking the checkered flag. He thought when he went to bed last night that he had won, but in fact it was swapped around because of that 5-second penalty to Patrick Pasma. What that means in the championship is very simple. Zhou Guanyu leads by 1 point from Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who has had, it has to be said, a pretty disastrous weekend, ending in that retirement that he had in the race earlier today. Chauvet starts from position number 6, and the new championship leader, Zhou Guanyu, is on pole position. As we take another look at the Yas Marina circuit, back here this weekend with the usual Formula 1 configuration, with the additional turns 5, 6 and 7, meaning that long straight into turn 8 is longer than we saw in rounds 2 and 3. Zhou Guanyu says he prefers this layout, and his results so far this weekend have borne it out. He didn't do so well here when we came for 6 races earlier in the season for rounds 2 and 3, but he's been pretty good so far this weekend. And a dramatic turnaround in the first 2 races. He came in 32 points behind Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and he is now 1 point ahead, and he is right where he wants to be in pole position. Now, it's not over yet, because twice we've seen this weekend Pasma start in second and take the lead into turn 1, going down the inside of Zhou Guanyu. So if that happens again, as you have to think is
from
fairly
P6,
likely,
and you have to pass Guanyu Zhou and to win the overall championship. What will you do? Yeah, first of all, I'm quite disappointed about this race because I tried to push as much as possible, which was the only option for me. And at the end, I crashed. I will let the stewards do their job. And now I will push as much as possible in the last race to finish in front of him and win the championship. That's all I have to say. So I will keep pushing.
A quick word there from Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who is 1 point behind the championship leader Zhou Guanyu. Now he starts in position number 6, and he's going to have to give it everything. Hope that again Pasma can take Zhou Guanyu off the start and the gap's closed. Basically, whoever finishes first of those two will take the title. Jahan Darivala is in 3rd place in the standings, but he's too far back for the title. It's 2:32 to the Chinese driver, 2:31 to the Frenchman, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and Jahan Darivala has 177. Pasma has pulled himself up into 4th place in the championship. So those are the main standings, but all eyes are at the top. Now the Rookie Cup classification is also extremely tight with 1 race to go. Japan's Ayuma Iwasa Red Bull Junior driver is leading by a single point as well. 203 points he has from Reese Ushijima on 202. And then Turkey's Cemboluk Basi is only 10 points off the lead. So if he can get a win in the Rookie Cup classification today, he still has the chance of victory in the Rookie Cup, and he has 3 wins in the last 4. So we are moments away from the start of the 15th and final race in this F3 Asian Championship, and what a series it has been. Pierre-Louis Chauvet came into this weekend having won 6 of 12 races, and somehow is no longer leading this championship. Zhou Guanyu won the first 2 races, and then was effectively handed victory in the first race of this weekend after that 5-second penalty to Patrick Pasma. And with the safety cars that we've had, of course, the gaps that Pasma was trying to pull out had closed up, and so he did have about a 3-second lead as he crossed last night, but he was still bumped down to 2nd. Disappointment for him, but more significantly, the win going to Zhou Guanyu and the 25 points. So the mechanics still out on the grid doing some final preparations, and then we will have 1 formation lap and then 30 minutes to find out who our new champion will be. It's one of 2 people: China's Zhou Guanyu or France's Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Now Chauvet understandably was pretty upset at the end of the race earlier today. We never did see exactly what happened in that incident that forced a retirement for both him and Roman Stanek, but I can tell you he was not happy when he got out of his car, but was kind enough to speak to us a little bit later and seemed pretty stoic in that interview with Feline, just trying to focus on what he can do. It is technically still in his hands, but you would think that he has to rely on some sort of misfortune for Zhou, unless he is able to just put a magnificent charge up through the top part of this field. It is easier to overtake, of course, if you're coming from further back, but everyone on the front 3 rows have been racing pretty well. Jahan Darivala, it's worth mentioning, has a new set of tyres. Almost all the other drivers are on the old set. So he has spoke to us after the end of the race and said that he was going to try to win this race from position number 3. He finished in 3rd on the old set earlier today, so he's on form, and he won a number of the races here in rounds 2 and 3. So this is a circuit that he has already performed well on, and he wants to finish his season with a bang before he rejoins the Formula 2 series that he's been competing in alongside Zhou Guanyu and others. So in just a moment we will have a formation lap And then the lineup, and we will be racing. 30 minutes to go to find out who our champion will be. Zhou Guanyu gets the field underway. And what will he try this time? We've seen him in the first race of this weekend from pole position angle his car sharply across into turn one to try and close the door. That didn't work. Patrick Pasma was able to go through both 2 times. Let's run through that grid. Derivala, as I mentioned, alongside David Vidales. 3 consecutive top 6 finishes for the Spaniard. Roman Stanek, who's had 2 retirements this weekend so far, will be hoping for better from position number 5. And then Pierre-Louis Chauvet, 1 point off the championship lead, but a retirement earlier today. Ayuma Awasa, who is right in amongst it for the Rookie Cup, is next to Kushmeni. Then comes Roy Nassani and Alex Connor on the 5th row of the grid. Chambolet Bassi has shown some very good form as the season developed. He's just gone from strength to strength alongside Reese Ushijima, Roberto Faria and Lorenzo Fluxa on the 7th row of the grid. Alexandra Bardinon and Rafa Villagones will line up on the 8th row. Then comes Nicola Marangangeli and Amna Alcabasi on the 9th row of the grid. Irina Sidorkova and Alessio Deleda line up behind them, and Khaled Alcabasi rounds out our field today. If you're just joining us for the first time, 21 drivers in the field, 15 nationalities, and a dozen teenagers as well. So some very, very promising drivers in this field, some of them with very deep experience despite their tender years. So what we've seen from Zhou Guanyu is twice he's tried to cut the angle into turn one. Neither time has it worked. So what will he try this time? Will he do something different and maybe go straight on before pulling across? Pasma, we saw, angled out to try to head off that move. So a little bit of gamesmanship between these front two. Zhou again has the advantage of pole position, but psychologically you think Pasma feels that he's got Zhou's number when it comes to the start here at Yas Marina. All Zhou Guanyu needs to do is finish above Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who is in 6th position. If he takes himself out battling with Pasma at the front, that would be disastrous. Not to say he's going to give up that position willingly, but you might just see him drive a little bit more conservatively. All season long, he's been talking about the championship standings, and despite losing places on occasion during the races, he's been pretty happy to bag those championship points. So he has his eyes on the main prize, and that is not the race win today, that is the trophy, the championship, which will be decided in about 30 minutes time. So a reminder, Zhou Guanyu on pole position leads this championship by 1 single point from Pierre-Louis Chauvet in 6th position. Whoever finishes higher up the field of those two will be crowned champion. Patrick Pasma looking to try to cross the finish line for the 3rd consecutive time, even though he was deprived last night and ended up getting 2nd position. David Vidal and Jahan Deruvala, both of them on form from the 2nd row of the grid. The green flag is waved at the back of the field. We are cleared to go. Seconds away now from the final race of this F3 Asian Championship. Zhou Guanyu has lined up straight on. Pasma tries to cut out. Oh, and it looks like he's worked much better this time for Zhou Guanyu. And he, for the first time this weekend, has managed to convert his pole position into a turn 1 lead. That's the number 7 car of Roberto Faria a little bit further down the field, going wide into turn 1. And what did Chauvet do? Well, there he is, the number 3 car, and apparently there was minimum damage to his car, which was great news, despite the retirement earlier today. So, right at the front, the top 3 have remained the same. Zhou Guanyu, Patrick Pasma, and Jahan Deruvala. And behind them, that is Kushmeni, who is looking to move up through the field. He's attacking David Vidales for 5th position. And Chauvet there needs to stay out of trouble as Vidales tries to come past him. And maybe he's going to be able to keep that position. I think he has. Chauvet is up into 5th. But here comes David Vidales right behind him. Well, it's been a good start from the Frenchman. This championship is not over yet. Patrick Pasma and Jahan Daruvala, both of them have spoken about getting the win today. It's more important for them to get this race win than it is for Zhou Guanyu. But what Zhou has to focus on is keeping himself as far away from Pierre-Louis Chauvet as possible. And right now, position number 1 is the best possible one for him. Zhou from Pasma and Jahan Daruvala, the top 3 as they were on the grid. And the blue car of Pierre-Louis Chauvet is in 5th position. So Vidales is the man who's slipped back, and Roman Stanek has also moved up. So he's in 4th, with Vidales dropping down 2 positions from 6 to 4 in this opening lap. So that's been a major change amongst the top 6. In 7th is Kushmaini, Roy Nissany in 8th, Ayuma Iwasa just ahead of Chembol Igbasi as they battle for Rookie Cup honours in 9th and 10th, and Reese Usajima in 11th, also in the mix. So let's keep an eye on that as Pasma coming under fire now from Jahan Daruvala, who, remember, is on a fresh set of rubber. And that might come into play as this race progresses. And Pasma, for the first time this weekend, looking a little bit uncomfortable. And Daruvala is having a look. Can he do it this time? Side by side, here they are, but not this time. The Indian just tucks in behind. We've seen a lot of cars go into the runoff there. But Zhou Guanyu, they couldn't be any closer. Jahan Daruvala is all over the back of Patrick Pasma. He goes on the outside, had a look on the inside, then back to the outside. There he goes, he makes his move. Oh, and he's going to go off, so he's going to have to be careful when he rejoins. He knows he needs to hold that position and not overtake on the runoff section of the circuit. That's okay, as long as you don't get that advantage. Allows these drivers to be a little bit more aggressive, but they have been briefed time and time again on this, and penalised during the qualifying sessions for that as well. So Zhou Guanyu is already building up a pretty nice gap here. This is something we haven't seen him do for a while, not since the opening races of the championship. But it is going absolutely perfectly for him so far, and it won't matter what Pierre-Louis Chauvet is able to do further down the field. If Zhou wins the race, he also wins the title. Now, that is certainly going to bring out a safety car. So, good news, I suppose, for Pierre-Louis Chauvet, as the gap for Zhou will close right up as the cars have to slow under the yellow flags. And Pasma will maybe have another crack at him on the restart. And Jahan Daruvala, as mentioned, is on the fresh tyres, so he will be looking to try and get past the Finn and then make a play for this lead. All of that could bring Zhou back into the championship battle. He was just seconds ago looking like he was away and clear with one hand on the trophy. But he'll have to wait a little while longer here. And that was Alessio Deletta, whose car is stranded on the track here. And it has been a little bit frustrating sometimes with so many safety cars coming out, and with the short races, it does take chunks out of our race time. All these races, and the fans joining us across Facebook, YouTube and elsewhere, come to watch the racing, not the procession around the safety cars, but nothing we can do about that. Thanks for your patience and for bearing with us. Let's hope that we can get that car off the track as quickly as possible and then get get back to racing. Deleda seemed to be fine as he climbed out of the car and scrambled to safety. Joe just slowing the field right down and safely leading them wide here. So, if you are just joining us, Zhou Guanyu is leading this race, and he is also leading the championship. He needs to do one thing, and that is finish ahead of his championship rival, Pierre-Louis Chauvet. He's 1 point ahead of him in the standings, but right now, he has managed, for the first time this weekend, he's had 3 pole positions, and for the first time, he took the lead into pole 1. Into turn 1. Patrick Pasma unable to make it a trio of overtakes at the start. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, though, is giving it everything. He started in position number 6 and is already up to 5. Now let's have a little look back at that start, which went very successfully for the Chinese pole sitter. And in the first 2 races, the man on left of screen there in the red and white car, Zhou Guanyu, had tried to angle across. This time he went straight to start with and then cut across. Pasma perhaps didn't know what was going on, but also the Finn did not get as good a start as he'd had in the previous 2 races. So that allowed Zhou Guanyu to absolutely burn off the blocks as we come back to live action and the safety car. So Deleda's car from the Pinnacle Motorsport team, the 26-year-old, no longer in this race. And to just run down the positions for you, Zhou Guanyu leads from Patrick Pasma. Jahan Darivala from the Mumbai Falcons team is in 3rd position. Roman Stanek, 2 retirements so far this weekend. One late in the race, one fairly early. He'll be hoping just to get across the line today. Pierre-Louis Chauvet is in 5th. He is the man who needs to make a charge quickly at the restart if he is to keep his championship hopes alive. Roy Nissany, who is always in the thick of the action, is right behind him in 6th position. Ayuma Iwasa of Japan is in 7th, ahead of Kushmaini, Chen Bolagbasi, Reese Usajima, and Alex Connor in 11th. Then comes Roberto Faria, David Vidales, who's definitely had some issues early on. Not sure if he had a car problem or made some mistakes, but he started from 4th and he's already down in 13th position. His countryman Lorenzo Fluxa is 1 spot behind him in 14th. Rafael Villagomez of Mexico is in 15th. Alexandre Bardinon of France is in 16th, ahead of Italian Niccolo Marinangeli. Amna Alcabasi is in 18th. Khaled Alcabasi, no relation, in 19th. And Russia's Arina Sidorkova is the last driver out on the track after the retirement of Alessio Deleda. So 20 cars remain. Safety car is going to go in, and we'll have 20 minutes to see who our champion will be. Zhou Guanyu right now is the hot favourite. He just needs to finish ahead of Pierre-Louis Chauvet, currently sitting in 5th position. The green flags mean we're back to racing. And Zhou has had a seamless start. All the issues that he had earlier in the weekend down into turn 1 seem to be behind him. And Deleda had some sort of incident with Sidorkova, which the officials are going to look at following this race, but it won't have much of an implication on the point standings. So, Pierre-Louis Chauvet looking to make a move into 4th place. He is right behind Roman Stanek. said, has struggled this weekend. He'll have had a couple of blows to his confidence after those two retirements. Chauvet, look at him swerving all over the back of Stanek. Can he make a move? Now, this is interesting. Pierre-Louis Chauvet looking for fourth position, quite this time, but he's right there. And behind them, again, if that was Roy Nassani, he'll need to give that position back, so we'll see what happens. Now that is, there we go, there's Nassani, who is sensibly giving those positions back to both Stanek and to Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Otherwise, he would be in danger of getting a penalty post-race. The top three remains the same. Zhou Guanyu, Patrick Pasma and Jahan Durivala. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who is still in 5th position, needs to get past the man in 4th as soon as he possibly can, because these top three are pulling away slightly. But Chauvet has been looking pretty good. Can he get close enough? Doesn't look to be quite close enough on this run, and he's running out of time. 17 minutes remaining on the clock. This is Stanek at the top of the field, top of the screen there. Currently in 4th position as we join our leader, Zhou Guanyu, who has driven a decent race. And again, the flags. Well, as we said, some of these drivers will care more about that than others, because as the laps and the time keep on going, that brings Zhou Guanyu closer and closer to his maiden championship. And Chauvet is having a look now around Roman Stanek. He's giving it absolutely everything. He has to. Again, not able to go past, but really putting the Czech driver under pressure. Well, this is a great way to bounce back for the Frenchman after the disappointment he had just hours ago in race number 14. Very quick turnaround. And mentally, just to clear his head of the frustrations he had there. There was also an incident that he had in last night's race with Roy Nassani, which was debated long into the night, with the teams no doubt making their representations to the officials. So he's had a lot of drama both on and off the track. Well, let's hope that that car was able to continue and we can be spared another safety car. But right now, Zhou Guanyu has a comfortable 2-second plus lead as we just move past the halfway point in this race. China's Zhou Guanyu moves closer and closer to becoming the F3 Asian champion. He would have been hot favourite coming into the season with his Formula 2 experience and driving for the extremely well-known Prema race team, who have just about won it all at the junior levels. And Zhou Guanyu started with 2 wins in the first 2 races and looked to be running away with it. Then Jahan Durivala and Pierre-Louis Chauvet started to get some wins of their own, and it became a 3-horse race. Patrick Pasma has turned it on in the final stages of the season, but he will have to settle for 4th in the overall standings. Now Nissani in 6th is coming under pressure there from the Red Bull car of Ayuma Iwasa, who is having a pretty decent race. And a win for him would give him the Rookie Cup title as well. His nearest rival is Chembolik Bassi and Reese Usajima, who are in 9th and 10th, with Iwasa in 7th, but they are 1, 2 and 3 in the Rookie Cup standings, which have different points. So Zhou Guanyu, 7 laps in the books now, nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of Patrick Pasma. And then Roman Stanek just seems to have eased a little bit ahead of Chauvet, only 6/10. So Pierre-Louis Chauvet in 5th position needs to keep working, needs to keep fighting, pull himself back behind Roman Stanek, get himself up into 4th, try to put some pressure on the rest of the field. Another stoppage may actually help him if these gaps were to close, assuming we could get back to racing. But that, of course, will be out of his hands. At the moment, Zhou Guanyu is marching to this title. And if you missed the races that we had earlier in the weekend, it has been extremely dramatic in terms of the championship implications. Because incidents that were discussed by the officials after and some penalties have had some pretty significant ramifications. The biggest of which was in last night's race. Patrick Pasma, we all thought, going to bed last night, had won round 13, but a 5-second penalty saw him drop into 2nd, and that gave Zhou Guanyu 25 points. Now, he came into this weekend 32 points behind the Frenchman Pierre-Louis Chauvet, but a race win there and then a retirement in race number 14 for Chauvet allowed Zhou Guanyu to absolutely turn the tables and come into this final race with a 1-point lead. So this championship fight has been back and forth all season long, but all the usual suspects have been involved. And Johan Durivala, perhaps those tyres of Pasma beginning to get a little bit old now, and the Indian has the new set, unlike most of the other cars in this field today. So he will be trying to get himself at least up into 2nd here. And Zhou not doing anything crazy, just driving sensibly at the front. He's not pushing the pace too much. Looks like Pasma has reeled him in a little bit. Arina Sidorkova towards the end of the field. He's just picked up a place, passing Khaled Al-Khabaisi. Roberto Faria, meanwhile, is in the pits, so he had to retire alongside Alexandre Bardinot and Alessio De Leda. So 18 cars out on track at the moment. Ten minutes to go now until we will see the new F3 Asian champion crowned here at the Yas Marina circuit in the United Arab Emirates. And Pierre-Louis Chauvet still is one of 2 men who can receive the trophy. He is currently in 5th position, and he has reeled Roman Stanek right back in a desperate bid. And as we move back to the battle for 6th position, but just at top of screen, that's Chauvet in 5th, trying to get past Stanek and see perhaps if there's any change at the top of the field. A little mistake by Zhou, but he has looked very, very comfortable so far today. Take nothing away from the Frenchman, he has had a stellar season. 6 wins more than any other. And he has, in certain ways, been the standout driver of this championship. But Zhou Guanyu has been very, very consistent. Didn't win much until this weekend after the first two races of the season, but he was always in amongst it, picking up podium after podium. He had a long run of consecutive second place finishes, just banking the points. And that is why he is currently in the lead for the championship. Niccolo Marangoni from Italy, making some strides down the back of the field, moving up into 15th position past Amna Al-Kabasi. And it has been excellent to see the diversity of this field, including two female drivers. Drivers coming from all over the globe, not just the Asian region. Now, the other thing, if Zhou is to go on and claim the title, he will also receive 18 FIA Super License points, almost half of what he needs, 40 needed to get a race in F1. Of course, he has to get a seat, but you need the license first. And a lot of people, not just in China, but overseas as well, tipping Zhou Guanyu to be China's first Formula One driver. He's finished 7th and 6th in the last two Formula 2 series, as he comes around to complete 10 laps now with under 7 minutes on the clock. Now, just next to me are our Chinese commentators, commenting on this race to the thousands of fans that Zhou has back in China. He is quickly becoming a star. And if he does indeed become China's first F1 driver, he will go into the mainstream for sure. Currently a test driver for the Alpine team, and he will be racing for the third consecutive year in the F2 season, which gets underway in May. It's allowed him to spend his winter break right here in the United Arab Emirates, with 15 races spread across just 1 month long. Fantastic experience for the drivers. And that and the FIA's Super License points on offer is why we've had such a strong field from top to bottom. Zhou Guanyu has about a 3-second gap from Patrick Pasma, and Jahan Durivala still unable to improve on his starting position of 3rd. And Zhou just looking imperious today. He's made it look easy. At the start, Pasma never really had a chance. That's not what we were expecting after Pasma was able to beat the Chinese driver into the lead into turn 1 on each of the last 2 races. Had a combination of perhaps a little bit of a strategy change from Zhou Guanyu, and also Pasma not getting away as cleanly as he had in the previous 2 races. Now Zhou to get comfortably in front, and he hasn't looked like surrendering that lead ever since. 3 seconds the gap between these front 2. Then comes Jahan Durivala. Another 3 seconds or so to Roman Stanek and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Coming into this race just 1 point off the championship lead, still in 5th position, but still right behind Stanek. And you have to feel for the Frenchman desperately unlucky with that retirement earlier today. Who knows what we'd be looking at if he had managed to score some points. He would have had the lead coming into this race, even with advantage tilting back to Joe from his pole position. But it has certainly been dramatic, that's for sure. Patrick Pasma raced last year against Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and in fact ended up beating him in the Formula Regional European Championship. And if you just watched the last few races, you would have expected that. But across the whole season, Chauvet has been the man to beat. The Frenchman, just 18 years old, so he still has a very promising future ahead of him. Zhou Guanyu from the Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema team is leading this race. 12 laps now completed for the Chinese driver. The gap up over 3 seconds. There comes Pierre-Louis Chauvet in the blue car, trying to get past Roman Stanek. Not quite close enough here, but he hasn't ever let him escape. Stanek, after the retirements he's had, certainly won't be in the mood for charity. And he's made Chauvet work for every little bit here. And so far, he hasn't been able to get past him. Time is very much running out. Chauvet perhaps is going to have chance for one last crack. Great to see him giving it everything, even if he feels the title slipping away. Now Chauvet, what can he do here? Having a look, trying to put the Czech driver off his game, but he's not having any of it. Still, Chauvet challenges. Stanek, just a few days short of his 17th birthday, one of the youngest drivers in this field, has held off the Frenchman superbly throughout this race. But it's been easy for this man, Zhou Guanyu, who now certainly has one hand on the trophy. As the time ticks down, Zhou Guanyu is going to make it look comfortable in the end, but it was nothing but. We will have one more lap here before we find out who our new F3 Asian champion is going to be. And all signs point to the Chinese driver, Zhou Guanyu. He currently has a 1-point lead in the championship. All he had to do was finish above Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and he has dominated this race all the way from pole position. This will be pretty significant news back in China, and if he is able to continue this form into F2 and then go up to the ultimate step of Formula One, he will quickly become a star in his homeland. He's a very likable young man as well. Always has a smile, very articulate. But more than that, just very, very fast. Seconds away now for confirmation that Zhou Guanyu will be the champion. He looked an outside bet just a couple of days ago, as Pierre-Louis Chauvet had a commanding 32-point lead coming into this weekend. But drama for the Frenchman, including a retirement just a few hours ago in race 14, and then a very quick change around has opened the door for Zhou Guanyu, and he has gone absolutely charging through it. He kept the pressure on the Frenchman, who struggled all weekend long, and despite a solid drive, an early movement, but Zhou takes the flag, and he is the new F3 Asian champion. A fantastic drive from the Chinese driver. Patrick Pasma crosses in second. Jahan Durivala completes the podium for third position. Stanek managing to hold off Pierre-Louis Chauvet for fourth and fifth. Chauvet gets the consolation of second in the standings and 14 super license points. Jahan Durivala will get 12 super license points as well, with Pasma picking up 10. Roy Nassani finishes in sixth, and Ayuma Iwasa in seventh, means that he is the Rookie Cup champion, holding off both Chen Bullock-Bassi and Rhys Ushijima, who will take second and third in the Rookie Cup standings. The Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema outfit, as expected, take the team championship. But Zhou Guanyu has put it all together when it matters most in the final race of the season. He came in suddenly as the favourite after he hadn't been for a while. The pressure was back on him. He'd been swamped off the start by Patrick Pasma twice in a row, but he made no mistake today. And he will be absolutely delighted. So confirmation of the provisional still, we should add, given the changes that we've had. Zhou Guanyu wins the race from Patrick Pasma and Jahan Durivala. Roman Stanek, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Roy Nassani in fourth, fifth and sixth. Seventh is Ayuma Iwasa. Eighth comes Kushmani. Ninth is Chen Bullock-Bassi, and 10th, rounding out the points, is Rhys Ushijima. Alex Connor from the Evans GP team comes in 11th, ahead of David Vidales, who recovered a little bit after a poor start for him. Lorenzo Fluxar in 13th, Rafael Villagomez in 14th, Nicola Maranangli in 15th, and Amna Alkabasi in 16th, ahead of Arina Sidorkova of Russia and Khaled Alkabasi. So the winning drivers come back into pit lane, and the celebrations can start now for Zhou Guanyu, the new F3 Asian champion. We'll hear from them in just a moment, but confirmation still provisional. But Zhou Guanyu, we very much expect, has won this race, and with it the title. Patrick Pasma comes in second, Jahan Durivala in third. Roman Stanek holding off Pierre-Louis Chauvet for fourth position, but Chauvet will come second in the championship. Roy Nassani in sixth, Ayuma Iwasa, Kushmani, Chen Bullock-Bassi, Rhys Ushijima, Alex Connor, David Vidales, Lorenzo Fluxar, Rafa Villagomez, Nicola Maranangeli, Amna Alkabasi, Arina Sidorkova and Khaled Alkabasi. Those across the finish line, with Alexandra Bardinon, Roberto Faria, and Alessio Deleda DNF today. So let's hear from the drivers in a moment's time, but here is a look back at all the action as it unfolded from race number 15. From the start, the man on pole, front left of screen, got away superbly and closed the door for the first time this weekend on Patrick Pasma. Pierre-Louis Chauvet from 6th position immediately got up into 5th. He had to do one thing, finish ahead of the Chinese driver, but his work was cut out for him. He was battling, managed to get past Vidales at the start. Then Jahan Duravala early on had a big challenge with the Finnish driver side by side here, and we thought perhaps he was going to get through, but it wasn't to be. Patrick Pasma has been lightning quick over the Yas Marina circuit. This was another good attempt from Duravala, but had to run wide. Alessio Deleda brought out the safety car after he got stuck on the track. And at the restart, Zhou Guanyu was away and clear once again. Patrick Pasma and Duravala, the drivers, rounding out the top 3. Now Stanek and Chauvet were battling hard. Chauvet in the blue and red car. That was Roy Nassani cutting the corner, but he would give that position back right here. And Chauvet was in the mirrors of Roman Stanek all race long, but never was able to find a way past. And time ran out on the Frenchman. Alexandre Bardnon had more misfortune there. And again, Chauvet giving it everything. It was great to see. He was really throwing everything at the Czech driver. But that did allow Zhou Guanyu to get out in front and just extend his lead. 3.2 seconds, the winning margin. And this was the moment just minutes ago that China's Zhou Guanyu became the F3 Asian champion. Pierre-Louis Chauvet finished in 5th position and 2nd overall in the standings. Jahan Duravala 3rd overall and Patrick Pasma in 4th. So we will hear from Zhou Guanyu in just a moment, as soon as Feline is able to get to him and get his thoughts. So stay with us and we'll be right back.
Yes, it's me. And no, it's not cricket. But it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between two teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship, UAE.